All right, ladies and gents, welcome on in. This is your golf preview for this week. This week on tap, we got the Wells Fargo Championship down at Quail Hollow in North Carolina. Handicap Sports. I'm your boy Jay Z Sports. Gonna run it down all for you. Course previews and course changes, past winners, different trends. I'll get into the stats, and then I'll get into some of the players who I think will find the most success at Quail Hollow this week, as well as some under the radar type players that you might be able to play in DraftKings um, or anything like that. All stats are on rickrungood.com. Unbelievable platform, not an ad. Wish it was. Use all stuff for my stats. Use all his stuff for my DFS and betting and stuff like that. It's a really good place to do some of your analytical work. Let's get started with it. Wells Fargo Championship. Golf course is Quail Hollow Club down in Charlotte, North Carolina. Like I said, the designer is George Cobb in 1961, and a Tom Fazio redesign in 2013 and 2016. It's a par 71, just over 7,500 yards. Water comes into play on 7 holes. Bermuda head to toe, fairway, rough, and greens. The greens here run 12 and a half on the stimp. Very fast greens, fast with some high levels of undulation. Um, that's kind of the basics there. Getting more into some background information because I think it's important to note most of this stuff when looking at this 2023 Wells Fargo Championship. We've seen Quail Hollow for other events outside the Wells Fargo. We had the 2017 PGA Championship, the 2022 President's Cup this past year. 2017 PGA Championship, Justin Thomas went out to go win that. Um, some changes that happened here. So when Fazio took over prior to the PGA Championship in 2017, he changed some holes up. One specifically, he changed, the hole number one, which was a par five around, I would say 515 to 530 yards. That's now a very long par four. So he did that. A couple par threes. First hole, like I said, changed there. Um, so that's important to look at. Notice that the par five number is now down to three par fives. We'll go into more par five scoring once we get down to there. But this course is long track. It suits players who hit the driver a long way, who carry distance. But that's not to say that shorter players don't find success here. Shorter players can definitely find success. Just the sheer length of this course. Players who tend to drive the ball a little bit further try to give themselves a shorter iron, in their hands will probably have an easier time hitting these greens. The green regulation percentage at Quail Hollow is historically very low. So that's important. We'll get into more of the iron play as we get down into the stats. Um, the thing is with Quail Hollow, two of the things that are very hard in golf is hitting the ball long and hitting your long irons, and that's what Quail Hollow asks for. Um, all four par threes play over par. There are two drivable par fours, 8 and 14. Other nine par fours are all over 450 yards. Just to go to how long it is. Um, Par five scoring here, all of them have an over 30% birdie rate. I say it week after week after week. Par five scoring is so important. It's how you score. I'll get into more of the stats when I get down to the winners here to see where they ranked out in par five scoring. Um, just to give a quick touch, I think 2017 JT won this thing at 9 under. His par five scoring was 8 under. So I had from JT all the way down to the 2021 Wells Fargo Championship when Rory McIlroy went on to win. 16, 17, 18, the final stretch is known as the Green Mile. Three of the four hardest holes at Quail, which also play over par. Um, Watch for some nerves on this back three. When players kind of end the Saturday, even Sunday. You got to make clutch pars. You have to make a clutch birdie on these holes. The nerves are going to be flowing through them. So this is not the easiest task to do. And I compare Quail Hollow to two courses in particular, Bay Hill and Torrey Pines, both very long courses, both very hard courses. We see Torrey Pines U.S. Open, Bay Hill's Arnie's Place, or we see the Arnold Palmer Invitational. But both these courses plus Quail Hollow, it's all about ball striking. How do you hit the driver? How far do you hit the driver? The length is huge, just given over 7,500 yards. And with that length comes long iron play. Same thing at Bay Hill, same thing at Torrey Pines. Who could hit their long irons the best? Who could flush their irons? Make sure you get it on the green to have a birdie look for anywhere. We'll get into lag putting in a little bit. That's going to be very important this week. It's going to be a great week at Quail Hollow. It's one of my favorite courses on tour. I absolutely love it. I've never played it before, but would love to play it. So that's more of the background information. Let's start to get into the stats because this is where we're going to find our guys. So the stats at Quail Hollow, strokes gained at Quail Hollow come, a nice deal of them come off the tee, and it's well above tour average. In terms of distance, take a look back at some leaderboards. In 2021, we saw Rory McIlroy, Victor Hovland, and Keith Mitchell all in the T5. Rory finished T2 in distance. 2019, Max Homa won. That leaderboard below him was Jason Duffner, Ricky Fowler, Sergio Garcia, Keith Mitchell, Rory. That finished out the T10 list. Homa was T20 in distance. 2018, Jason Day won this tournament. Nick Watney was on that leaderboard. Aaron Wise, Bryson DeChambeau, Phil Mickelson, Luke List. That was T10 finish. Day was T20 in distance. 2017 was the PGA Championship where Justin Thomas went on to win that. Players behind him, Patrick Reed and Ricky Fowler. JT finished T2 in distance that year. So we see this trend of winners at this place and people and players rounding out T5, T10, T15, all also very long drivers of the golf ball. So it's important this week. Accuracy is not that big of a prerequisite. The rough, they don't really grow the rough at Quail Hollow too long, so the rough is not that penal. Actually, I think when Rory McIlroy went on to win, he came in like last in driving accuracy. So driving accuracy is not a prerequisite this week. The fairways are, generally pretty wide, not the widest on tour, not the shortest, pretty average. But hitting into the rough, there's no really true penal, area. It's just going to be a very kind of a harder shot to hit your long irons if you don't hit your driver that far. But if you do have a nice distance on the ball, and you find yourself in the rough, giving yourself around 180 to 200 out, that's not too bad of a thing, just given the length of this place. So yeah, accuracy, not a big deal. A lot of the weight this week is towards driving distance. Kind of went through a model. Last 36 rounds, the longest drivers in this field: Rory McIlroy, Alejandro Tosti, Cam Young, Cam Champ, Benny On, Trevor Cohn, Gary Woodland, Will Gordon, Pearson Coody, Dylan Fratelli. Another big stat that I wanted to look at this week was also, the players that do well on longer courses. I'm sorry, yeah, the players who do well on long courses. Because, you could have a long course, but shorter and not some of the longest players could play well. I think you'll kind of see once I name these players, and relative to who I said were the longest drivers. I mean, we got guys like, Trevor Cohn in that list, Pearson Coody, Dylan Fratelli. So the best players who do well on long courses, last 36 rounds: Rory McIlroy, Tony Finau, Justin Thomas, Sung Jae Im, Matty Fitz, Tyrell Hatton, Cam Young, Pat Cantlay, Xander Schauffele, and Alejandro Tosti. This Tosti guy's coming up a lot. Played well last week at the Mexico Open. Watch out for him. I think he might have another big week. DFS space. I think it's a big play in the DFS space. We'll get into those prices as we move forward here. Into the approach play. Quail Hollow Club is one of the hardest courses on tour to gain in the approach category. Like I said, green and regulation percentages are very low here. Um, and if you are hitting greens, it's going to absolutely pay dividends. Just to give yourself a look at birdie, and it's no easy task to two putt that. So I'm going to be looking at a lot of lag putting stuff. Where does your proximity of your second of your first putt in terms of your second one? How long are you leaving yourself? On your second putt when you do hit the green in regulation. This place is a long iron course through and through. Like I said, given its distance, almost 32% of approach shots come from 200 plus. Almost 23% of approach shots come from 175 to 200. Last 36 rounds, the best players in the field from 175 to 200: Tony Finau, MJ Duffy, Rory McIlroy, Xander Schauffele, Lucas Glover, Colin Morikawa, Eric Van Rooyen, Keegan Bradley, Cam Davis, Sam Stevens, Will Gordon, Sibu Kim, Nate Lashley, Callum Tarrant, Shane Lowry, JT, Ches Reavie, Taylor Pendrith, Kurt Kitt, and Taylor Moore. Last 36 round, the best players in the field from 200 and on: Colin Morikawa, Aaron Rai, Sahith Theegala, Keegan Bradley, Corey Connors, Kurt Kitt, Robbie Shelton, Sung J M, Cam Davis. But I wanted to kind of see the noteworthy crossovers. So what players that I stated, who model out pretty well from 175 to 200, also model out well from 200 and on. And you see guys like Xander Schauffele ranks 5th and 28th respectively, Finau 1st and 69th, Colin Morikawa 6th and 1st, EVR 7th and 6th. He could be a low-key guy for us. Keegan Bradley 9th and 12th. I think Keegan's going to have a really good week this week. I really do. I can see Keegan. He's been playing well. Cam Davis, 8th and 19th. Also another player who play well. We saw Cam Davis, past couple weeks now have, shown that he could play. I know last season it was, the end, more so the end of last season and into this season, it was absolutely horrific. He's finding a stretch a little bit. Kurt Kitayama, 19th and 15th. We know he went on to win Bay Hill, Arnie's place. Davis Thompson, 23rd and 9th. Interesting. Smotherman, who's played really well last week, 22nd and 17th. And then some of the noteworthy guys who modeled out well, 200 to 225, who also model out pretty well, 175 to 200. Homa is 10th and 31st. Sahith is 11th and 66th. You got to think he's going to have a big week this week. Sung Jae is 18th and 50th. Corey Connors, 13th and 19th. Long iron play is huge this week, and really going to be looking into players who do hit the long irons well. You're not going to find a lot of wedges in your hand. Really, the only time you're going to find a wedge is either if you lay up on a par 5, or if you're around the green chipping the ball. You're not going to be having approach shots with the wedge this week, other than on the 3 par 5s. I'm sorry. So very, very important this week. Some of those players I'm really going to dive in on, like an EVR, like a Toasty, a Keegan Bradley, even, who's probably priced sub 8. Sahith Theegala, another one who I want to dial in on. So that's more so the approach play type of thing. Around the green, with the low green and regulation percentage, there's no denying that you're around the green play is going to have to be present here. There's not really a trend on, players who did well around the green, who gained strokes around the green, win here. We've seen a lot of players win here who've lost, 1, 2, 3 strokes around the green. So it's not that big, but I'm going to have a small weight here, but this is no Augusta, folks. The around the green here, we're not going to be dealing with short grass. We're not going to be dealing with, balls on a very thin lie. It's going to be easy to more so to chip out of, but you're going to see a lot of players that, have around the green shots, but that's not where a lot of the strokes come. It's going to be a lot of it's going to be the putter, which I'm about to get into. We'll see a lot of these winners who gain a fucking ton of strokes with the flat stick, but driving distance, long courses, and getting into the long iron play. Putting at Quail Hollow is a very tough task. Bermuda fast, lightning greens, 12.5 on the stimp, high undulation. It ranks T10 on the PGA Tour in difficulty. Like most years, where the winner was either, within T10 within most years, when a winner at Quail Hollow is T10, they also gain a ton of strokes on the dance floor. Um, so what I really want to look at this week is who are the best Bermuda putters and who are the best approach putter lag putters. With the tough green to regulation percentage, you might find yourself with a long birdie putts. And in this case, it's vital. It's absolutely vital that you're able to two putt on all cylinders. It's going to be huge. What this measures, what approach putting measures is, a player's average distance to the hole after their first putt. So their first putt goes. Are they within 5 feet? Are within 3 feet? Obviously, the lower you are, the better you are. It's a huge stat I'm diving into right now. Best Bermuda last 36. Ben Taylor, no surprise. Taylor Montgomery, Harry Hall, Denny McCarthy, Sam Burns, Matt Fitz, Eric Cole, Ryan Gerard, Ben Griffin, Malnati, Brendan Todd, Alex Noren. Best approach putters last 36. Ryan Armour, Ben Griffin, Akshay Finau, Shane Lowry, Gerard, Ryan Moore, Tyson Alexander, Matt Kuchar, and Zach Johnson. And now a crossover that I wanted to see. Who are great Bermuda putters? Who are great um, approach putters? In the model, I kind of looked who was like, around the T25, T30, T35. So a lot of these times, I'm trying to find players who are like T10, but you have to find guys who have the balance, right? Like, if you look at a guy who's like 50th in distance, if you could look at a guy who's like 30th in long iron approach, like that's really good. Like that guy could definitely win. I find myself looking way into guys who are like top 10 in these kind of stuff. It's got to be everyone. Large sample size. The name of the game here, folks. The crossovers now. T35 in both categories. Ben Griffin, Ryan Gerard, Kuchar, Zach Johnson, Jordan Spieth, Alex Noren, Ben Taylor, Eric Cole. Guy's been playing great. Sung Jae, I love it. Jason Day, Peter Maloney, Brian Harmon, and Terrell Hatton. Finalize that list, getting into the scoring now. Now, like I said, Quail Hollow went through some renovations, and they stripped down one par five. It was number one. They made it into a par four, leaving only three par fives at Quail Hollow. I'm going to go back to 2017. I'm going to look at each winner's winning score, and then I'm going to look at what they did on the par fives the year they won. Very interesting here. JT in 2017, his winning score was 8 under. His par 5 scoring was 7 under. 88% of his 88% of his score came from par 5 scoring. Jason Day in 2018, his winning score was 12 under. Par 5 scoring was 9 under. 3/4 of his final score came from par 5 scoring. And rounding it out, Max Homa in 2019 and Rory McIlroy in 2021. Homa had a winning score of 15 under, 9 under par 5 scoring. Rory in 2021 winning score of 10 under, par 5 scoring of 6 under. Each of them had 60% of their score coming from par 5 scoring. I know a little bit less, but still above 50%, which is a pretty good, which is pretty good. Don't sleep on par 5 scoring this week. I know there's only three par 5, but you're gonna want to. You get eagles, 2 eagles each. It adds up, folks. It adds up, and we're not going to see a birdie fest here. So you're going to want to score on those par fives, and I modeled that out in my model big time. Best par 5 scorers last 36. Pat Cantlay, Rory McIlroy, Fleetwood, Finau, Toasty again, Sung Jae Im, Kuchar, Cam Davis, JT, Patton Kazire, Nate Lashley, Benny On, JT Poston, Matt Fitz, Morikawa, Wyndham Clark, Jordan Spieth. And I'm also looking at hard conditions because this course does seem to play hard. We rank it to a Bay Hill. We rank it with a Torrey Pine South. Hard scoring conditions. Jordy Spieth, Rory McIlroy, Colin, Peace, Pat Cantlay, Jason Day, Tony Finau, Ben Griffin, Xander, Ricky, Hovland, JT Cooch, Cam Young, Fleetwood, Adam Scott, Tom Kim, Shane Lowry, Terrell Hatton. That's the scoring stuff. Comp courses now. Now, Quail Hollow, I only have two courses that I'm comping this one, that I'm comping these two that I'm really, really dialing in on. Torrey Pine South and Bay Hill, both very long courses. You know, fast greens, long iron course through and through. You're gonna need to drive the ball a long ways. Both of those courses I modeled into. So now with all of this, with the long iron play, with the driving, with the lag putting, everything like that, I put it into a model on rickrungood.com. My top 20 golfers are Pat Cantlay, Rory McIlroy, Tony Finau, Xander Schauffele, Justin Thomas, Ricky Fowler, Sung Jae Im, Jordan Spieth, Max Homa, Wyndham Clark, Shane Lowry, Victor Hovland, Gary Woodland, Patrick Rogers, Terrell Hatton, Jason Day, Matt Wallace, Joseph Bramlett, Colin Morikawa, Cameron Young, finalizing that list at number 20. So that's the stats. That's the course. Quail Hollow Club. Um, a lot of good information there. The best players in the field aligning with the most important stats: long iron play, driving distance, Bermuda putting. Now I want to hop into the DFS side of things, who I think you can maybe like low key type of players who I think maybe you could gain an edge on a little bit. Projected ownership is not out yet, but Alejandro Tosti, I want to do a deep dive on him quick because he's been playing on the Corn Ferry Tour. Toasty, he's been playing on the Corn Ferry Tour. He finished last week at the Mexico Open T10. Excuse me, there, folks. Got a little bit of a cough going on. Um, gain almost eight and 8 3/4 total, 6 ball striking, 5 on approach, and that was another course that was a heavy long iron place. He's played on the Corn Ferry Tour, has been playing great on the Corn Ferry Tour. Uh, T22, his last Corn Ferry start at T10, the one before that, T25. Kid looks like a really good player. He's modeling out really, really well. Why not him again this week? You know, a little bit of a stronger field. We're not having Rahm, we're not having Scheffler. It's an elevated event. Rahm and Scheffler are pretty much the top two dogs. They're actually over at Oak Hill right now, preparing for the PGA Championship. That's going to be happening later this month. But I like Toasty a lot this week. I do. He models that really well. Why can't he do it again? No real experience here, but you gotta dial into the big fella when he's putting up these numbers like this. Another player who I want to dive into is Keegan Bradley. When was the last time we saw KB? The last time we saw KB, how does KB play here? Actually, it's interesting. Just KB, does he not play well here? Oh, I thought I loved him. Fuck, KB. Oh no, not bad here actually. Quail Hollow, middle of the pack. KB ranks so well on long iron. Ninth, 175 to 200. 12th, 200 to 225. Not great on the par fives, but his distance is there. Great on long courses. Approach putting's great. Hard courses he plays well in. What's his price tag at? 7,700. What are his odds? What are KB's odds? 660. That might be tough, but he might be another really good fantasy play. Um, how does he rank out on my fantasy model? Pretty good in my fantasy model as well. He's another guy who I'm looking at um, as a low key guy. Cam Davis. Should we look at the Cam Davis? Cameron Davis. T7 at the Heritage, cut at the Valero, but we saw him at the Players and he finished T6. Wasn't really great at Arnie's place, but he showed a lot at the RBC Heritage. Gained 7 ball striking around the green play was great. Tee to green was great. He's modeling out very well for me. How does he play here in these courses? Davis. Cam Davis. Again, middle of the pack at Hollow. Not great at Torrey Pine South, but his long iron play is nice. It's like, how much do I want to bank on prior experience at these type of players at these type of places than how well a player fits the stats there. It's going to be pretty interesting to look into. But in terms of the betting board, Rory McIlroy 7+700. I'm not taking that. I think Cantlay and Schauffele are pretty good plays. Finau just won. I don't like Finau. Hovland's another really, really good play. I think Hovland could definitely win this event. Victor Hovland is one of the best long iron players on tour. Drives the ball a shit ton. I think he's amazing here. I think he has one start here, which I think is pretty good. Victor. Actually, I'm just gonna look at the course. Quail. Yeah, he played this in 2021. The year Rory won, he finished T3. Very good. Victor's game is unbelievable right now too. Jordan Spieth +2,000 does have trouble with some distance. Long iron play isn't that great, but he's just a beast around the greens. He's really good at these long type of courses. He's really good at finding a way. I'll probably lay off Jordan Spieth. Matt Fitzpatrick just won at the RBC. Justin Thomas is very interesting, 22-1. He won this event at the PGA Championship. I think he's really. If we hop into JT real quick, Justin Thomas. Obviously won here T7 in 2015, cut T21 in 18, T26 in 21. We saw at the RBC, he hit the ball really well. Gained almost 6 in the ball striking category. Gained really was great on approach. T25 there. And you got to know this guy's hungry. This guy's hungry for win. This guy does not like to lose. He hasn't playing his best golf, which is probably killing him inside. I wouldn't be surprised if JT comes out here and honestly wins this thing or posts a number. It's going to be an interesting play for me, actually, in the DFS space to see what his ownership is kind of coming about. Colin Morikawa, another one who could just fly under the radar. This 22 number is pretty good. I know he doesn't drive the ball long, but his long iron play is, again, some of the best on tour. Might be arguable that him or Victor Hovland have the best long irons on tour. He's at 22. Cam Young's at 22. Obviously played this one in the President's Cup, long drive of the golf ball. Could it be his time? Maybe. The short game might kill him. Sung Jae at 25. I love Sung Jae. I mean, I've been riding Sung Jae all day long. I think Sung Jae's just an absolutely complete player. We saw a great play with Keith Mitchell at the Zurich. This guy is just a machine. He just finishes like T15, T10 day in, day out. It's unbelievable what this guy does. And you got to think this win's coming soon. Sung Jae. Yeah, T7 at the Heritage, T16 at the Masters, 17 at the Dell, T6 at the Players. Played great at Arnie's place, T21. He's out everything. He does. It's just a matter of putting everything together and playing 4 solid rounds. I think he could do it. Homa, 25, knows his place, won it. Not a bad play. Day, another one, knows it, won it. Burns is interesting because Burns is a really, really good putter, and his game has been trending. Just won the Dell. Probably a lot of confidence in this guy's back pocket. Kind of like Burns here, too. Hatton, interesting with Hatton at 35. Tom Kim, 35. Ricky, 35. Ricky's interesting, actually. Ricky at 35 is pretty interesting. Ricky modeled out very well for me. Like, very well. Ricky ranks 6th in my model. Why does Ricky rank out so well? The approach play, last 36, has been unbelievable. Quail Hollow, he's great. He's great on hard courses. Long iron play is pretty solid. 200 plus is eh. Par five scoring, I like that. Yeah, he's got a complete game, and he's playing really well right now. Why not for Ricky? You know, I like that number on Ricky. I don't think that's a bad play. At 35, not at all. So Heath, 45. I don't think that's another bad play at all. Not sure if he's going to actually win. Maybe a T5, T10 might be better for the Heath, but a DFS play might be worth it. Corey Connors, 50. Guy just hits fairways all day long. You know, don't think he'll win. Fleetwood, never going to find a win on American soil. Lowry, Clark, Mitchell, Keegan at 60. Getting back to him. Anyone in this range who maybe could come along. Kirk Kitt at 110, but he just really won. Cam Davis at 110 is interesting, actually. He's been coming up in my models all day long. That'll be interesting to go through, but a lot of money to be made this week. We have a lot of good stats on Quail Hollow. Um, you know, driving, approach, whole 9 yards. We got it all. Laid it all out there. Laid it all out there. Should be a really, really good one this week. I'll have more on my Twitter. I'll have more on my Twitter regarding, DFS stuff, ownership, and shit like that. But yeah, that was another edition. This is another course preview, another tournament preview. Wells Fargo Championship, Quail Hollow Cup in Charlotte, North Carolina, coming to you this week. Another elevated event. No John Rahm, no Scotty Scheffler. Should be a great one. Headlined by Rory McIlroy. Let's see what he could do, folks. It's been another great one. I love doing these, and I just love studying the game of golf, and I'm going to keep doing that all day long. So here's another one, Wells Fargo. We'll see you folks later. Best of luck this week. Thanks, guys.